Hello there, YouTube. It is your boy B3, back with another kicking graphic novel review. Today we are reviewing something I really enjoyed from Seven Seas Entertainment. It is the complete original Kamen Rider manga, the 50th anniversary edition, in fact. It's this magnificent, gorgeous hardcover. You can get it at like Barnes & Noble and stuff. It's actually quite readily available in the States. There's a nice version of it on Kindle and stuff that you can check out. My partner and I actually have it physically and digitally, legally. So, that's pretty cool. Let me read you the back of the book real quick, actually. Quite factually. The original run of the legendary Kamen Rider manga, now in English as a special 50th anniversary Omnibus. Fans the world over have long been enthralled by tales of Kamen Rider, the masked motorcycle-riding superhero who protects the world from injustice. Kidnapped and experimented upon by the evil terrorist organization known as Shoka, Hongo Takeshi manages to escape their clutches and use his newfound strength to fight against their schemes. These are the first adventures in a legacy that spans dozens of television series and films, drawn and written by series creator and manga superstar Shotaro Ishinomori, commemorating the 50th anniversary of the classic 1971 publication. This collection is the first hardcover edition of Kamen Rider in English. It features the original Kamen Rider manga series, plus special bonus materials and full color inserts. And I gotta say, I really like this manga. Actually, I might like it more than the show. My partner and I have been watching through the original Kamen Rider. We haven't quite gotten to Kamen Rider 2. We've watched the first 13 episodes, which is the first quote-unquote arc of Kamen Rider. And I've seen this Kamen Rider guest star in many different Kamen Rider shows and movies. I've actually watched a lot of different Kamen Rider stuff. You can check out our second channel for reviews of the Kamen Rider shows, movies, specials, etc. But this is the manga. And I actually read it before I watched the show. I read it in its entirety before I even started the original Kamen Rider show. So, that's pretty cool. So when I watched, and you might have seen my Shin Kamen Rider, or as Amazon calls it, Shin Masked Rider review on the second channel, but I was actually comparing it to this manga because I hadn't started the show at that point. But now, let's talk about the manga itself. The translation was by Kumar Sivasubramanian. I think that's how you pronounce their name. Quite a long last name. And there's a lot of different stuff here. The Uncanny Man Spider, the Flying Man Bat, the Resurrected Cobra Man, the 13 Kamen Riders, Village of the Sea Demon, World of Masks, the Illustration Collection, and the bonus editions. The first several pages are in full color, and it's really glorious. It's like actually glorious. You can tell it's vintage art. It's very apparent immediately. But that's a good thing. It's nice vintage art. I really like this kind of older manga style, and these first several pages in full color are gorgeous. They really, truly are magnificent. But it starts off with Hongo getting into an accident, and then the scientist and Shocker save him because he's an amazing physical specimen. So they turn him into a very, very powerful cyborg. Who? And scars show on his face when he gets worked up from the surgery. But, I mean, the idiots, I've always thought this. Why did they always make him a cyborg before brainwashing them? Why not brainwash them to work for you and then make them a cyborg? Shocker would have probably won if they did that. Or if they had some kind of Kamen Rider 3. What's that? That's the exact plot of a Kamen Rider Drive movie? Interesting. Anyway. He does escape. And it's really great. I like all the line work and stuff on this. And I actually really like that manga are in black and white because you can just do a lot. It really changes the art style when you're quote-unquote limited to those two colors. And I know that manga are really in black and white for like a practical reason, because oftentimes they'll just have one artist and one writer. There's only like 2 or 3 people. Where here in the US, comics have a much larger team, you know? Like, there'll be several different artists and writers and things. But, he escapes on a motorcycle. He fights the spider dude. And one thing about this comic, yeah, manga or comics is just a specific kind of comic. Don't be one of those freaking fanboys that gets pissy when someone calls a manga a comic. They are comics. It's just a more specific type. Anyway, he's learning how to control his strength, and there's this spider. And one thing about this book, this is what I was going to say a second ago. One thing about it is, it can just become randomly and unexpectedly brutal. It's very Showa and superhero-y, and it doesn't seem too crazy. But then, all of a sudden, Kamen Rider rips some dude's arm off. And it always feels like it's out of nowhere. They're just having like a fun comic booky fight, and then rip. Someone's been torn in half. Punch. Someone's freaking, the heart just got punched out. It's insane, some of the things that Kamen Rider will do to these kaijin. I mean, oh my god. But the spider kaijin and the bat kaijin were both adapted into the Kamen Rider movie, which is very cool. And it seemed, in the Shin one, and it seemed relatively the same. I actually really like the designs of both of them. They're very Showa, and I really like the bat guy. He's kind of freaky. He's really freaky. But it does start to diverge from the show a lot as it goes along. The spider and bat, they are around the same. They're about the same, as far as I can remember. It's been a little bit since I was watching that show. We kind of took a hiatus on it for some Ultra Q. My partner and I are watching it together, so we're only watching it when we are together. And recently, we've just kind of felt more kaiju-y than Henshin Hero-y. Sorry. But anyway, he, slaughters this bat dude. And there are many more kaijin that he fights in this as well. There's actually Cobra Man, and Cobra Man is far more interesting in the manga than in the show. He has this kind of Medusa woman that fights alongside him, and you really feel for him. It's a really intense book. Like, fair warning, I do believe a dog dies. Yes, that's right. Yes, a dog does not get up at the end of a certain issue. And there is some sad stuff like that in this. There are people who die, and there's this little boy that has like leukemia the whole time, and he's really rooting for Hongo and Kamen Rider, but they never want him to exert himself because they're like, little homie, you have leukemia. You need to fucking chill out, you leukemia haver. And this kid, you're not really invested in him because you don't see him that often, but he's mostly there to kind of push Hongo and his love interest together a bit. I don't know. The boy, to me, was fine. Like, he wasn't annoying or anything, like they often are in these shows and stuff. I feel like they should have focused on him a bit more. Like, they should have put him in here more, is actually what I'm saying. And then I think I would have really liked his character. Especially when we get closer to the end here. Because right now we're at the part where the 13 Kamen Riders show up. And they beat the fucking snot out of Hongo. to the point where he, spoiler alert, basically dies. And they have to put his brain in a jar and keep it alive in a laboratory. And then there's a second Kamen Rider, and they help boost him up. And then Hongo's brain talks to him in his helmet. And I haven't gotten to Kamen Rider 2 in the show, but I feel like maybe that's not what happens, because I've seen Kamen Rider 1 guest star and stuff. Maybe that's a cyborg body. I don't know, but that's pretty wild. They turn him into a brain. And people I know who have seen, and this is true, I know a few people that have seen the Shin Kamen Rider movie and watched the original Kamen Rider all the way through. But they haven't read the manga. And when I've told them about the manga, they've told me that it sounds more like Shin Kamen Rider than the original show. So it's very possible that Shin Kamen Rider took a lot of inspiration specifically from the manga, and not just the show, even though there's clearly a lot of inspiration taken from the show. Like, there are some shots and stuff in the movie that are right out of the show, literally directly copied and pasted, in a good way, in a we respect the source material way. It was a little fan servicey, but Hideki Anno is like the biggest Kamen Rider fan you'll find. It's true. There's even Kamen Rider stuff in Evangelion, which it's true. It's true. There's a lot of Kamen Rider inspired stuff in Eva. But now I get to Kamen Rider 2, and honestly, once it hits Kamen Rider 2, it becomes infinitely more interesting. He goes back to like this small village he grew up in, and the people are turning into sea animals, and there's manta rays flying through the sky like birds, fucking attacking anyone they see in swarms of giant manta rays flying through the sky, attacking everyone. Oh my god, it's so insane. And there's like this huge sea creature kaijin. He's like a big crustacean, and you guys know I'm an arthropod guy. Oh yeah, you know I fucking love those goddamn arthropods. He just looks like such a brawler too, dear lord. Whew, what a good book. What a good book. And then there are these like people who want to sacrifice people to the sea to kind of make this stop in their masks. They have like these Oni masks on, but they're drawn in such this hyper detailed way that looks so unnatural with the rest of the book. It was really a great artistic choice. It truly was. And the panel layouts are so jagged, and there's so much tragedy in this book. So many tragic things happen. But then, you know, of course he fights the sea kaijin and stuff, and, you know, does brutality upon it, ripping its effing arms off, because Kamen Rider has absolutely zero fucking chill. But it continues on, and eventually, you know, he kind of makes his way into Shocker's base and fights some more sea creature kaijin. And then Kamen Rider 2 eventually kind of does start to get his ass kicked later on. And there is a bit of an ex machina thing where Hongo himself shows up in like a robot, like a full android body, and fights alongside him. It's pretty wild. We do get the kind of butterfly kaijin that was he what did they call him in the Shin Kamen Rider? They made him Kamen Rider Zero or something. I only saw that movie once, the one day it was in theaters. It's been a while. I need to watch it again. They need to hurry and release the Blu-ray. I kind of don't want to watch it on Prime. I want that sweet, sweet Blu-ray. Anyway, I am kind of skipping forward a little bit because I want to leave some stuff for you guys to read yourself. You know what I mean? But there is a lot going on. So we're going to kind of skip a bit closer to the end where they're taking on Shocker. Like, for the quote-unquote final time. And as I said, Kamen Rider 2 is getting his effing ass kicked. Hongo kind of shows up and Ex Machinas them out of there. And the only reason they were able to save the day is actually because the little leukemia boy, who wasn't actually even in the manga enough for me to remember his name, he kind of fucking dies of leukemia? Helping Kamen Rider, he overextends himself. It lets his disease get the better of him, and the entire manga ends with the revelation that the little boy died of leukemia to help Kamen Rider, and there was nothing they could do to save his life, and then it just ends. Huh? You're gonna fucking end the manga that way? Admittedly, it takes balls, but Jesus fucking Christ. That hit me like an 18-wheeler. Pedal all the way down on an airstrip. I didn't expect it. I didn't expect him to just die. And it's like kind of unceremonial when they reveal it, almost. It's so odd. In every single way. Honestly, my brain like couldn't comprehend it. I was just sitting there and I was kind of waiting. I finished it before my partner. I was reading the digital one while he was reading our physical copy, or his physical copy. Sorry, we're not that far along yet. And I was waiting for him to finish because I was like, I gotta ask him what he thought of that ending. And he thought the same thing I did. He was like, it was just out of nowhere. It hit me. He couldn't believe it either, that they would just end it that way. Such an odd, crazy way to end this manga. And there was a centaur there, which is true. There was a centaur there. And the final kaijin that they fight is actually called Big Machine. And he's just a big old, almost 50s looking kind of robot. And I would love an action figure of him. He's very cool. He had real Gort vibes. He was like an evil Gort. You know Gort from The Day the Earth Stood Still? No, not the Keanu Reeves one. I don't like that one. But the other one's one of my favorites. He's just such a cool... He looks so alien, but he's made by humans. Very interesting. But yeah, we get two Kamen Riders fighting him, and they killed the leukemia boy. Why would they do that? Why would you just effing end it? And you only really find out on like the last page. The last 2 pages are the kid's death. But they don't even really say he's dead until the very last page. 3 panels from the end, they tell you the boy died. And then it just fucking ends. I can't believe that. I can't believe they would do that. All in all, I did love this book. There were times when the pacing was off, admittedly. The kaijin and stuff, a lot of it is kind of basic Monster of the Week kind of stories until Kamen Rider 2 shows up. That's when it really gets balls to the walls. Fucking bananas. It's worth it. It's an expensive book. It is admittedly an expensive book. That's why I opted for the digital version for me. Because, one, I knew my partner was going to have the physical one anyway because he doesn't do digital. Which I respect a lot, actually. We should keep physical media alive. That being said, this was a really expensive book. And I had a coupon, so I got it digital. But it is something I would like to own physical, and if that coward will ever man up and marry me, then I'll legally own half of his. So, I hope he doesn't watch this. I know he watches the second channel. Anyway, that's it. Thank you all very much for your support. Remember to rate, comment, and subscribe. Definitely check out the Kamen Rider manga. If you're a Tokusatsu fan or a superhero fan, you gotta love it. It's got the previous volume covers in the back. There's a little short story, The Tale of Ray King. There's another one called The Tale of Slugzilla. There's just a bunch of little Kamen Rider shorts in the back, you know. Another one with the spider kaijin. He shows up again and whatnot. Just a lot of cool stuff. So much cool stuff. I really, really enjoyed this manga. My only real complaint is that the pacing is off. I'm not even complaining about the kid dying in the end, because I just wish he would have been in it more so that I could, you know, appreciate the death. It just seemed like a rushed ending, I guess is what I'm trying to say. I liked it, but the pacing was a little off and the ending felt rushed. There we go. That's my full summary. That's my too long didn't read. TLDR. So thank you all very much for your support. Remember to rate, comment, and subscribe. Check out all the cool link in the description. All the cool link. I guess it is mostly just a link tree. I think it's just a link tree and Patreon down there. But the link tree has everything else. But that's it. Thank you all once again. I'll see you all next time. Bye for now.